All I got to say is red alert, red alert, red alert. And some people think I've totally turned on Donald Trump. I haven't. I'm totally against this war because it's going to destroy our economy. It's already underway. But that aside, Trump still continues to do good things. What he's trying to do in China is outstanding. And what they're doing with the Medicare fraud that hopefully we can bring attention to in the next day or two when more information comes out, outstanding. That money is meant especially for people on hospice, taking advantage of families in times of terrible grief. Fantastic stuff the president is doing. Um, and I will tell you this, his declaration of release of the JFK files, the UFO files, which, I'm not a big believer in, but nonetheless, it's a move towards honesty, and the files on MK Ultra. And this is real stuff, folks. MK Ultra is not some mythical thing out there that might be true. There was congressional hearings on this in the 70s where this was shown with more forthrightness than we're getting today. Well, now we're covering a story that is one of the most important news stories that I believe I have ever covered because of the implications of it. This is a coup against Donald Trump's administration, what the CIA is doing. It's also showing that they're outside legal constraints placed on every other federal agency but them, and they need to be reined in. And I'm going to remind you of a quote that John Kennedy said after he broke up the Bay of Pigs invasion that he did not authorize, was totally illegal and CIA inspired. And he said, the CIA needs to be broken into 1,000 pieces and its pieces spread to the winds of the earth. Truer words were never spoken. And we're going to go through what's happened in the last 48 hours. Now, I wanted to do a report yesterday when this broke at the airport. And we did a red eye to get home. And so we had to, quote, sleep it off when we got in. I was actually going to do a report at the airport, but I thought this is so controversial. I don't need to attract a crowd. There's really nowhere in private I can be. And the other thing that was going on was they kept playing music at the airport. And the copyright restrictions would have kept me from doing this. And I didn't have the equipment there necessarily to filter this out. So I thought, okay, we're going to have to sit back. And I'm glad I did because now, since this story broke nearly 24 hours ago, more details are coming in. And we're seeing the duplicity of the CIA. No, I am not a fan. And by the way, let's back up. I support local law enforcement. No, I don't think they should have unbridled access to our rights. And I think they need to follow the law themselves. And most of the time they do. But these are brave men and women that put their lives on the line every single day when they go out. And what is this? Respect National Law Enforcement Week. And this was sponsored by Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Fantastic stuff. So I am a big supporter of law enforcement, but I am no supporter of the CIA. Oh, the concept originally that we need to spy on foreign nations and maybe do some things behind the scenes in foreign nations? Yes, we do. But the CIA doesn't work for America. Oh, don't get me wrong. There are elements of the CIA on the surface that do exactly what they're designed to do. And they're good people and they're dedicated and they're talented and they work below what they could make in the private sector. And I know some of these people. So there is the good CIA. But then there's the dirty, down, and you can't trust them no matter what. And as my dad used to say when he was an ONI, when he used to say this, CIA would sell their mother down the river for a nickel. He hated them, and for good reason. He had experience with their interference when he was working with captured German scientists after World War II. So we're going to get into that right here on the Common Sense Show. And I'll tell you, the revelations I'm going to come out with, I think are going to stun you because you're not hearing this on Fox News. You're getting the superficial. And by the way, I'll give Fox News credit. Most of the mainstream media is not covering this story because they're CIA influenced, or you could even argue controlled. So we're going to launch into it right here. And I'm really happy to do this because as a veteran of investigating the death of JFK, I am no fan of the CIA. And this goes back to its Bay of Pigs days. And I'm just going to make one thing very clear to make this completely understandable. The CIA has a long history of working with the mafia. And I don't totally disagree with it. When the CIA was the OSS, its predecessor in World War II, they paid mafia people to watch the docks for German infiltrators that would do sabotage or spy. That was appropriate because it was in the national defense. It was national security stuff. It was good stuff. And I'm not saying the CIA hasn't done some good work from time to time, but our country would be better off without this organization. And I'm going to use this as a case in point as to why. And we're brought to you by the good people at Ironhawk Financial. With all the controversy coming in with new Fed Director Walsh, who gets sworn in here shortly, he basically is saying he's going to inflate the economy. I mean, he has told Congress this, not as bluntly as I'm saying it, but this is what he's talking about. And he's going to let inflation go so he can basically monetize the debt downward. But that's going to kill your CDs, your 401ks in the bank, your IRAs, and most of all, your savings. And I believe in keeping operating capital in the bank, but if he's going to do what he indicated to Congress in his 3-point plan in his confirmation hearing, Katie bar the door. Katie bar the door. You need to look for something that's recession proof. People say, should I buy crypto? Well, it's going to break out, and we'll talk about that more tomorrow. It's I can tell you when it's going to break out. Now, I've been saying it's going to break out, but I wasn't sure exactly when. Well, now I have a pretty good idea. I'll cover that tomorrow. Gold, absolutely. That's why Noble Gold's a proud sponsor. Absolutely, you need gold and silver. You can get the silver, but you need both. And if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Don't get the paper. But also, too, you need other things that are recession proof. IULs, for example, end of life planning, insurance can all be bundled. And Joe Lombardi is the best at doing this. And he dots all the I's, crosses all the T's. And if he says he can help you, you're going to be entering into about a 60-day process. This is not simple. And this is not a $500 down deal. This is if you got money sitting, if you've inherited something, maybe you got a lottery ticket winning, whatever it would be. Okay, this is something you need to look at because he can take this, protect it, make it almost tax-free, if not entirely tax-free, under IRS code 7702, and then grow it into an income stream of unbelievable levels. And this is how a lot of the rich got super rich. And Joe Lombardi is making that available now to the public, and it's completely transparent. And if he wasn't following all the laws, the elite would come down on him. They can't because he's following all the laws. They'll tell you immediately if they can help you or not help you. And they're really had the most integrity of just about any organization I've worked with. I put them on the level with Noble Gold. What does that tell you? Been a sponsor of Noble Gold for 10 years, and they have the same level of great integrity. Now, I'm going to suggest right now that you get in touch with them or let them get in touch with you because with the economy kind of, well, not kind of, we're teetering people with the lack of oil and the problems that we have right now, the economic problems that are on the horizon, some are already here. You need to make yourself as recession proof as possible. They can help you. Time is of the essence. Go to dhawk.com. That's dhawk.com. You'll see an information sheet. Fill it out, and Joe and his staff, probably a COO, Marianne, they'll contact you and they'll get the ball rolling. And they will tell you almost immediately, yeah, we can help you. Or, no, this might not be right for you. Have you thought about doing this? dhawk.com. And I'm spending some time on this, folks, because I think time is short. I think our economy is in very, very big trouble, as I have been covering because of the oil situation. The global economy is in very big trouble. And that's why there's such an urgency with China and the US right now. We have to be friends with China right now. I know I don't like what goes on inside China either. But you take the two most powerful economies in the world, we better be teaming up to battle what's coming economically. Because even if the war ended today, it's a 64-week road back to recovery. And I've laid that out for you. All right. Um, let's go to the CIA. Do I know anyone in the CIA? Yes. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to put them under the crosshairs. Have I known people that formerly worked for the CIA that I like? Yes, absolutely. But there's the CIA you see, like the periscope above the ocean, and then there's the real CIA, the submarine below the ocean. And President Trump was very clear. You must release all the files on JFK. Well, you know, from what I've talked about with JFK through the years, and this is as far as ever in this business, I had a personal interest in this. I met Jim Mars through mutual friends, Bill Pollock, for example, and I started working with him on it. I came in with a fair amount of knowledge, and we uncovered quite a bit. And I got to tell you, I think there's no question the CIA had a hand in the Kennedy assassination. But wasn't there people on the grassy knoll? But did they know it was going to happen? Yes. Were they a part of it? Yes, they were part of the planning that went on in my research. And this is what I found. And this is what Jim Mars found. This is what a lot of people found. Fletcher Prouty, this is what he found. Now, having said all that, we deserve to have those files. This was an American president taken out by a coup d'etat. And the Lee Harvey Oswald thing has been disproven, 50 times Sunday. There's just no way that he did what they said he did. And they knew it that night when they gave him a paraffin test to measure whether or not he had nitrates that would show if he fired a gun. Well, according to the Warren Commission, he fired 8 bullets, three at Kennedy and Conley, Governor Conley of Texas, and also 5 bullets into Officer Tippit as he was making his getaway. Well, 8 bullets and the paraffin test is negative. They retested, it was still negative. He didn't fire a gun. We don't need to go any farther than that. This is the 30-06 of Charlie Kirk. Okay? And that's a fact. We deserve to know the truth. And knowing the truth can prevent future presidents. Now you're thinking, why do people care? Alan Dulles and all those people that were alive at that time leading the CIA, they're dead. Why care? Because it's the organizational reputation, and they don't want to be reined in because the public will demand control. That's why. That's what they're defending is their turf right now. Now, here's what ended up happening. Now, the details are now being, shall we say, confusing. Okay, the original story went like this. Tulsi's controlled NRO, National Reconnaissance Office, the NRO, very secretive. They were working on declassifying the Kennedy files and also to the files on MK Ultra. We'll just call it the brainwashing project. Okay, so they were declassifying these things. As a consequence to this, the CIA, as the story went, reported on Fox News. I believe it was Jesse Waters that broke the story. And like I said, we were preparing to be in transit then, so we had to get this news on the run. I wasn't able to do a full analysis, but I believe that was the origination of the story as related by Congresswoman Angela Paulina Luna, who, I have a lot of respect for. And she, I honestly believe, tries to be on the right side of things. I think she is one of the true public servants, much like Comer and much like Massey. She's willing to take criticism to stand up for what's constitutional and what's correct. And she reported this. She also said we were to have a hearing today in Congress in my committee, and 2 of the 3 witnesses backed out because they were afraid they were going to be assassinated by who? Well, you know it. Put the 3 letters in there, and that's what she said on national TV to Jesse Waters. And she reported that this office, under the control of the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, the CIA walked in and confiscated the files. Okay, well, let's break down what's wrong with this because there are real legal issues here. Let's start with the most obvious. The CIA has a mandate to operate outside the United States. They cannot carry out clandestine operations within the United States. Now, the FBI can, and the CIA can assist, but they cannot take the lead in anything. They can't act on their own initiative domestically. That is illegal under our laws. Well, they just broke the law. Who's going to hold them accountable? Now, here's what's interesting. The CIA director, John Ratcliffe, he's with President Trump in China. And that was the first day of the conference between Xi and Trump. and this happens when the director is out of the country, it's either one heck of a cover to protect his involvement in this operation by the CIA, or, what I think is more likely, it's a coup d'etat against Trump's power over the intelligence communities. Now, that's number one. Number two, Tulsi Gabbard is the, and I want to give you the key phrase here, director of national intelligence. After 9/11, it was shown we had such systemic failures in cooperation between the intelligence agencies that 9/11 might have been prevented if intelligence agencies talked to each other, didn't view each other as adversaries, but rather allies. So it was thought, okay, well, we're going to coordinate this whole thing with a position called the Director of National Intelligence. Well, this is what President Trump nominated and confirmed Tulsi Gabbard to be. Now, wait a minute. Doesn't that put the CIA under her control? The answer is legally, yes. Operationally, obviously not. The CIA not only broke the law by operating domestically, they also violated the chain of command and they're insubordinate. And I think we're bordering on treason at this point because it was up to Tulsi Gabbard to determine what's classified and cannot be released and what's not classified and should be released with the approval of Donald Trump, who owns the classification process under our law. Did I make that clear enough? I tried to explain it so if you know nothing about intelligence apparatus, how it's organized, I'm thinking that even a third grader could understand what I just said. Am I upset about this? You're darn right I'm upset about this. Now, there is a story coming out today since we landed, and I caught this in the airport. Well, this has happened, but it was going on before yesterday. I don't know how this even enters into the argument. It looks like the CIA is trying to obfuscate the issues by adding in confusing facts to lead people astray. The bottom line is Tulsi Gabbard's their boss, and they violated the chain of command. Number two, they're operating domestically. That's illegal. And I know some people are going to say, well, Dave, they do it all the time. Well, yeah. Are we going to continue to allow it, or are we going to call it out and have them discontinue it? Now, what's the final word here? I don't know what Trump is going to do. What he doesn't need is the exposure of a coup d'etat against his authority. I mean, his ratings are in the toilet because of this war and its effect on the economy. He doesn't need another controversy right now. I have a feeling this is going to be closed door stuff. What I hope doesn't happen is Tulsi Gabbard becomes the bargaining chip for a settlement between the CIA and Donald Trump. I hope that is not the case. Let me just share one thing with you that's already happened. When Charlie Kirk was killed, the FBI was asked to investigate. Okay, but this is also a matter of national security. So this brought in Tulsi Gabbard as the director of national intelligence, and her assistant director, the head of counterterrorism, Joe Kent. And Joe Kent had credible evidence that a foreign government could have been involved, and they needed more information from the FBI to complete this investigation. And they had a meeting at the White House. Susie Wiles, who ran Netanyahu's 2023 campaign for prime minister, chief of staff to Donald Trump. I think that's a terrible appointment, a terrible conflict of interest. But she was in this meeting, along with FBI Director Kash Patel, that came up with a terrible 30-06 nonsense story. Okay, I don't know if Tyler Robinson was involved, with his level of involvement, but I can tell you 30-06 was not part of it. That's a joke. And everyone who knows about guns and bullets and ammunition and effects, you're all nodding your head yes. So those four had a meeting. Joe Kent, Tulsi, we got Susie Wiles and Kash Patel. And they told them, you're not getting anything from us. Wait a minute. If we're really doing an investigation, shouldn't all the information be on the table? It's not like we're handing over classified information to the public. You're handing it over to the head of counterterrorism and the director of national intelligence. And you're telling them, no, you don't have a right to see this? And then Joe Kent gets fired, not by Tulsi Gabbard, but by actions pushed by Cattell and Wiles that got Trump to go along with it because we know Trump is in the hip pocket of Netanyahu. Sorry, President Trump, I support you, but that's a true statement. And so Joe Kent is kicked out unceremoniously, and then he's viciously attacked. Yeah, viciously. His credibility, his loyalty. His wife was killed by terrorists. Did you know that? On duty. On duty. He did 11 combat deployments with multiple citations, and he's thrown out like some piece of garbage because he wanted to find out the truth about Charlie. And you're looking at the fact that Tulsi Gabbard doesn't call the shots on intelligence. Susie Wiles did. Now, who supports Israel? Well, CIA and Mossad are like birds of a feather. I'm going to leave it there because I'm going to investigate that part of it more thoroughly because I don't want to get into making unfounded statements. But what I have said to this point is verifiable, it's public, and it's factual. What we have right now is a coup d'etat minimum against the authority of Tulsi Gabbard for the position she was appointed to, Director of National Intelligence. CIA take orders from her, not from foreign operatives. That's where we're at right now. This is going to get interesting, but I do expect it to be phased out in the mainstream media for all the obvious reasons. Why? Why wouldn't the JFK files be popular with a foreign country? Shouldn't be a problem, should it? Unless they were involved. What's the theory behind it? This is something that Jim Mars and I did not go down, so it cannot be ascribed to me. But what a lot of people are saying, and I have to say, I need to look at this more, shall we say, scientifically, okay, factually. But it's alleged that, well, it's not alleged. Kennedy did block nuclear weapons to Israel, and he wanted AIPAC, which has 94% of all of Congress, both houses, on their payroll for campaign donations, and that they don't have to register as a foreign agent, the only such agency in our country that gets to violate that law. Kennedy wanted them to be registered so their books would be scrutinized by the State Department and the FBI, and they got away with not doing it, and they still are not foreign agent registered today. It's called the FARA Registration Act. You've heard of that, right? Federal Agent Registration Act, FARA. Yeah, they're immune to that. And Kennedy tried to bring him into compliance. That meant full disclosure. Nuclear weapons, well, I don't know if that's true. If it is true, I understand why the JFK files can't come out and why Susie Wiles would be working against that as well. Don't know if that's true, but that is now on the table for investigation because there's got to be a reason why Trump's executive order was disobeyed by the CIA. That's grounds right now to clean house. And I don't know if Ratcliffe is involved. I suspect he's not. I think he's loyal to Trump. So does that mean that the bureaucrats in the CIA that go from president to president and they're not subject to appointments, they're protected by civil service law and they get to continue their employment? Could they be behind this? Is this the deep state behind the deep state? It's beginning to look that way. More on that to come. And why is this important? Because we need our government to be above board. And yes, we should have national secrets and so forth and so on. And we need spies, and I get all that. We don't need this crap. And for a president that was assassinated over 60 years ago, the American people who are still alive, that were alive at that time, deserve the truth. How a coup d'etat could happen that gave us Vietnam, the military industrial complex on steroids, and it goes unchecked to today. I'm Dave Hodges. This is The Common Sense Show.